everybody, it's good to see you again. So today we're going to be talking about a new upcoming LARP from Jackalope LARP Studios called Coven 1934. So this LARP is going to be an occult-focused horror LARP, of course, down in Texas, February 26th to the 27th, 2026. I'll give you a little spiel on like the heart and vibe of the LARP, which is, what if your desperation could summon something greater than yourself? Something beyond human understanding. What if your faith, your grief, your rage could bend the edges of reality? Welcome to Covenant 1934, Texas, where the dust never settles. So this is a LARP that is taking place canonically in 1934 during the Dust Bowl. The Dust Bowl was basically, I hope you kind of know, but for those who need a bit of a history reminder, is that the Dust Bowl was a period of time in American history where the plains was suffering from massive droughts. So because there was so much drought, it led to a lot of dust in these plains areas. And so there would be dust storms, like dust would enter your house in any and every crack that it could. It was a point of immense difficulty during the Great Depression. This is a dark time of deep dread and hopelessness. So the LARP takes place in a little haunted town called Covenant. Covenant is a crossroads, not just geographically, but also in our reality, between the real and unreal. A lot of strangers arrive and the locals aren't what they seem. Something is wrong in this little town and everybody knows it. Everybody can feel it, whether they understand it or not. A LARP like this is really intriguing to me because it's leading with a lot of emotion, and I think the theming around this LARP is really interesting. Now, I'll make something clear as I talk about this, no characters have been released or anything like that, and tickets should be available soon, if not already up. But I think when we approach historical LARPs like this is actually one of the first LARPs, I think, that is available on a blockbuster scale that is taking place during like a kind of depression historical period like this. I think the last game that also touched on similar themes was also by Jackalope, and that was the Mage to the Ascension game that they ran a couple of years ago that I also attended. That was super interesting too because it took place around like World War II, but this is all prior to that. Leave it to Jackalope to always bring in the interesting settings to, the LARP sphere. I've also spoken with Matt, the creative director of Jackalope, and honestly what's been super cool as well to touch on with him was that, he wanted to take all aspects of history seriously, and that includes racial tensions, that includes societal prejudice, and I love that. And he's involving a lot of writers of multiple marginalized identities to help him bring this to life. I think something that really entices me about this LARP, again, I don't know who I'm gonna play, but we did talk about what would I want to play, and I sat on it for a while because I wasn't really sure how to approach a LARP like this, but then I realized I think I actually kind of want to be something that ties into my background as an Indigenous person. I am mixed, I do have Indigenous background, and I would find it very interesting playing some type of maybe like Indigenous spiritualist and whatnot. I think that's a really cool idea. How will we cook that up? I don't know, but what's really cool is that he has some Indigenous writers on board to work with that and work with themes around that. The mood that I've gotten from the write-up I have about this LARP is basically that nothing is as it seems, and reality is starting to crumble. Because the veil is thin between worlds, shit's getting freaky. I think the core themes about what this LARP is about is losing illusions, pursuing truth or power, and letting go of what's rational to survive. Doors are opening to the unnatural. You may play somebody deeply mundane or barely human. The point is that everybody who goes into this town will come out, if they come out, changed. So as I said before, and I've said in multiple videos, okay, so Nordic LARP, big name, big, there's a lot of weight that goes onto the concept of Nordic LARPing and Nordic LARP, but really what this means is that it's rules light and character driven. So meaning that yes, and there's also like external plot, but really it's about role play and character narrative focus. This is about deep personal stories. It's slow burn tension. What it seems like Jackalope is aiming for players to experience is transformation confronting, your character's darkest choices, why they've made them, and what they can do to continue perhaps to pursue them. And also temptation and consequence. At the core of this event, of course, like usual in Nordic play, it is not about winning. It's about the truth you reveal or uncover. Again, characters have not been released, but I can give you a little bit of tease on what kind of characters will be available for you to play. So you might play a farmer that's barely holding it together, a preacher who's lost their touch with God but has found something else, a stranger with no past and too many eyes, a witch born from the dust, or perhaps even a grieving woman who makes deals at the crossroads. Everybody has a reason to be in this town, whether they know it or not. This is gonna be a pretty cool, very different experience. This is gonna be a very different LARP for me. I don't know, I haven't really played with LARPs that deal into these kind of like esoteric themes around dread, almost like it isn't Lovecraft, but Lovecraftian vibe of the beyond and things beyond your control. There's been a lot of LARPs that enjoy those themes. I've never really played one that demands that level of exploration. I really think the last time I played a game that kind of got into, revealing truth, accepting what is, and like the theming around that would actually be Jackalope's Mage game. So there are some direct cited inspirations to get the vibe of this LARP and like what it's going to feel like and what it's going to be like. We're talking like Twilight Zone vibes, the darker eerie seasons of American Horror Story, the Grapes of Wrath, but like more haunted, and even something like the Dark Tower, which this is a reference directly from Jackalope that says, which is like a weird Americana with fate and mystery, which like, hell yeah. I think this is a LARP for people who like horror that is quiet, existential, and deeply unsettling and unraveling. I think if you're looking for a kind of horror LARP or experience, this is what they claim for it to be feeling like. Again, I haven't played myself. This is the first time, Coven is running, so I'm not gonna know until I'm there, but that's the vibe. I'm honestly really excited to be a part of this project. As you guys know, I love working with Jackalope. We have been working with each other for, oh my gosh, like 7 years or something like that now, which is beautiful and amazing. They make good LARPs, and I stand by them and behind them for everything that they do and represent, especially within this community and in these times. I'm really excited to see how people will bring their characters to life in this kind of occult horror Dust Bowl environment. I think it's going to be really interesting to see the costumes and how people represent their characters, whatever they may be. I hope to see you there, and there will be a ticket link down below. I think something interesting too is like, what kind of character would you guys want to play? Would you want to play a character that's more mundane on that spectrum or more magical? And of course, guys, you can follow me here for any updates on Covenant. Also on my Instagram, which is like one of my main and major platforms. If you guys want more daily updates around LARP and about Covenant itself, you can find them there. And everybody, what would you trade for power if the dust whispered it could be yours? I hope to see you guys soon. Thank you so much for listening, and happy LARPing. See ya.